Welcome. Please allow us to introduce you to negotiation, as seen through the lens of the 2011 movie Moneyball. Negotiation happens everywhere, not just at work, but with family and friends as well. Being a good negotiator requires a lot of effort. We will provide a brief summary of the movie, a description of what it means to take part in an integrative negotiation, and definitions of various aspects of negotiation that have considerable impact on the process and the outcome.
Moneyball retells the true-life story of Billy Beane, the general manager of the Oakland A's baseball team, as he struggles with an impossibly tight budget in which he is expected to draft a team that will bring the A's to the World Series. Faced with this daunting task, he enlists the help of a young statistician, Peter Brand, and together they revolutionize the strategy behind drafting players with untapped potential. By using statistical analysis, they devise a method of player selection with a focus on a player's on-base percentage. This strategy is drastically different from the traditional drafting method, in which a player's batting average, personality, and physical health are deciding factors. Without the comfort of deep pockets, Billy must resort to carefully calculated negotiation tactics and strategies in order to bring players aboard that will help the team reach their ultimate goal. Conflict runs supreme as the team's recruiting staff of old-timers struggles to understand the unfamiliar methods that Billy and his new partner have adopted. In the end, although the A's fall short of reaching the World Series, Billy's endeavors are justified as the methodology he pioneered is adopted by competitors and shown to be highly successful. The main characters in Moneyball are Billy Beane, the Oakland A's general manager, Peter Brand, statistician and assistant general manager, and Steve Schott, the Oakland A's owner. Several players and team managers are also introduced throughout the movie. Moneyball takes place in Oakland, California in 2002. Integrative negotiation is a common theme found throughout the movie. Integrative negotiation is an approach that allows both sides to achieve their objectives. With this method of negotiating, win-win solutions are often sought. Parties are positioned to seek out information to better understand and ultimately meet each other's needs. This style helps to avoid adversarial negotiations and promotes efforts to enlarge the pie so that everyone involved can get a piece and no one walks away a loser. Integrative negotiating puts a focus on relationship interests. When instrumental relationship interests are involved, both parties benefit from keeping the relationship solid and work harder to avoid endangering it. This scene involves a conversation between Billy Beane and David Justice. David Justice, an outfielder for the Oakland A's, had a reputation for being a little difficult to deal with as a player. He had a slightly overinflated ego in the eyes of his employer, which he did not live up to in reality. He was, in essence, past his prime. In order to ease the tension that was building with Justice, Billy approached him to try to come to a meeting of the minds. Billy initiated the conversation saying, "Let's be honest about what we each want out of this. I want to milk the last ounce of baseball that you have in you. You want to stay in the show. Let's do that. Make an example for the younger guys. Be a leader. Can you do that?" David replies, "All right, I got you." Billy replies, "We're cool?" And David responds, "We're cool." Billy recognized the importance of maintaining a good relationship with David for the overall benefit of the team. As noted earlier, instrumental relationship interests exist when the parties derive substantial benefits from the relationship and do not wish to endanger future benefits by souring it. Clearly, it was in the best interest of both parties to keep the relationship on solid ground. They both needed each other and could use the relationship dependence to meet both their needs for their individual outcome goals. This scene shows an example of integrative negotiation, a form that allows both sides to achieve their objectives.
Prior to going into a negotiation, you have to determine what you want and how you're going to get it. Planning and preparation are the most important steps in successfully reaching your objectives in a negotiation. You need to determine the issues you plan to address, the interests you have in this negotiation, and the protocol, the where, when, and with whom of the negotiation. Prior to sitting down at the table, you need to define your alternatives, your resistance points, and the objectives that you wish to obtain. And finally, you need to assess the other party with whom you are negotiating, the constituents, and the social context in which the negotiation will occur. The difference between knowing and not knowing can make or break your negotiation. If you are not prepared, then you won't know the best way to respond to an offer. In the scene where Billy goes to Cleveland to negotiate a player trade, he's not properly prepared. He goes into the negotiation in their city, in their offices, and with their staff surrounding him, and he is ill prepared to negotiate. When his opening bid is flatly refused, he produces an alternative. When his alternative is refused, he's at a loss. He has no other alternatives, no BATNA, and no idea how to proceed. He walked away from that negotiation with nothing, but his behavior informed his opponent that he was inexperienced, and that could prove to be an advantage in future negotiations with him. Power gives you control, influence, ability, and advantage. Having power in a negotiation means you can more easily get what you want, while also giving away less to your opponents. Power comes from a number of places and can be gained or lost during the course of the negotiation. Sources of power are informational, personality and individual differences, position-based, relationship-based, and contextual. One of the first scenes in the movie is a textbook example of what not to do when negotiating. Billy goes to the owner of the A's, Steve Schott, and asks for more money for player payroll. More. He does not ask for a specific amount, meaning he has no opening bid. And he has no target point. He does not create value, and he is not gaining power for himself in the negotiation. Steve, as the owner of the A's, has legitimate position-based power, as well as power from resource control. Everything you are, and everything you have experienced, finds its way to the negotiation table by way of cognition, perception, emotion, and mood. Negotiators can make systematic errors based on these, and the result is cognitive biases. There are 12 types of cognitive biases, and all of them can affect the outcome of a negotiation by affecting how you process information. When Billy introduces Peter Brand to the scouting staff, they exhibit the cognitive bias of overconfidence by ignoring him, for they have no idea yet just how much this young suit is going to change the game of baseball. When Billy begins to explain the statistical method of player selection that Peter developed, the scouting team exhibits reactive devaluation. They attempt to decrease the value of Peter's statistical method based on their own past experience.
The communication that happens in a negotiation is an evolving conversation containing a series of offers and counteroffers. The negotiators decide whether or not to share specific details, and they frame the information provided in a method that persuades or compels their competitor. But the complete message is not fully contained within the spoken words. The inflection, words, and syntax of the speaker encodes the message, and the speaker hopes that the message is decoded properly by the receiver. Simple body language also affects the message as it's sent and received, and particular body language, such as the nod or shake of the head by the listener, can be a cue to the speaker of the approval or disapproval of the message. In this scene, Billy and Peter speak with confidence, and they use the legitimate power of their positions to influence the players to buy into their new system. They speak in a directive tone that is very matter-of-fact and not allowing for discussion. Billy makes statements such as "no bunts" and "no more stealing." The players seem to want to object, but they quickly find that the conversation isn't two-sided. The message is made simple and easy to understand by breaking it down to small groups and confining the discussion to what is important to the players. In one conversation, Peter describes to a batter his points of success. When you're getting your pitch, you're hitting 625. But Peter then goes on to explain to the batter what he's doing wrong, and his tone directs the player to do more of what is working and less of what isn't, swinging low and away and stuff. Billy and Peter are excited about the conversations, and throughout the scene, there are players nodding their head in agreement and presenting positive body language that encourages the presenters and excites them to continue the conversation. The methods work. as these small negotiations turned the team around and they followed with a 20-game winning streak.
Multi-party negotiations involve more than two sides working together to find an agreement on some set issue. In general, multi-party negotiations are more complex than one-on-one negotiations. One type of complexity is informational and computational because there are more issues to solve, more perspectives in the negotiation, and more information present. There's also social complexity, which is affected by the environment of the individuals working together and the social pressure of the group acting cohesively and risking groupthink. Procedural complexity occurs because it's harder to coordinate processes and come to agreements. Last, there are strategic complexities, which occur because negotiators need to follow the behaviors, actions, and tactics of others. In Moneyball, Billy negotiated with several different managers in order to acquire the player Ricardo Rincon. First, Billy encountered informational complexity when his associate Peter analyzed statistical player information to see who they wanted to trade. Next, there was social complexity when Billy used influence tactics to persuade the other managers to give him what he wanted. There was also an element of procedural complexity because Billy brought 3 other managers into this negotiation. Finally, he had to deal with strategic complexity because he decided to negotiate with each of the managers separately in order to improve his chances of success. When closing the deal, negotiators are wrapping up their discussions and trying to achieve closure with commitments they can all agree upon. There are several tactics negotiators can utilize to get a deal that is beneficial to everyone involved. It's important to choose one that best fits the situation at hand. Providing alternatives allows one to give the other party or parties a few different options to choose from. When assuming the close, a negotiator acts as if the decision has already been made. In splitting the difference, one makes things seem fair for the other party. By using exploding offers, a negotiator applies pressure by giving the other party a tight deadline. Lastly, sweeteners can be used to give a last-minute concession to sweeten the deal. There is a scene in Moneyball where Billy negotiated with 2 separate managers and used different methods to close the deal. First, he called Ed Wade to trade one of the players. He gave Wade a decent offer and asked him who he could give up in return. Billy then asked if he could start drawing up the paperwork and hung up on him before he could say anything more than okay. In other words, he assumed the close and he effectively got what he wanted. Then he called David Dombrowski to trade another player. Again, he made an attractive offer, told Dombrowski that he had 5 minutes to decide, and hung up on him. It didn't take long for Dombrowski to call back to accept the exploding offer, and then Billy hooked him by asking for a sweetener right before they hung up, which Dombrowski agreed to.
The movie Moneyball provides insight into the intricacies of negotiation. Integrative negotiating was effectively used as 2 negotiators investigated the value of their relationship and recognized how maintaining it would benefit each of them and the team as a whole. The importance of preparation and planning was highlighted in a scene in which Billy finds himself at a loss due to his inadequate preparation for an important negotiation session. Power and its effect on negotiation is illustrated in the scene where Billy succumbs to the legitimate power of owner Steve Schott and fails to use his own position-based power effectively. Cognitive bias was evidenced in the discussion between Billy and his scouting staff. The scouts were unfamiliar and wary of Billy's new method and were reluctant to make any changes. They preferred to draft the team the way they always had. Things seemed to take a positive turn for Billy when he changed the way he talked to his players. By using effective communication to better define management's expectations, Billy was able to encode his message in a manner that was easy for the players to decode and understand. As Billy began to negotiate for Ricardo Rincon, there was a noticeable increase in his excitement and confidence as he began to tactically structure his negotiation strategy. His quick thinking seemed to overwhelm his counterparts, giving him an advantage that found him achieving his outcome goal. He effectively closes the deal by using the fast-paced strategy of an exploding offer combined with a sweetener. Moneyball provides its viewers with lessons on what to do and what not to do when engaging in negotiations. Knowing what to say and when to say it is vital to becoming an effective negotiator. Billy Bean offers great advice to negotiators when he said, "When your enemy is making mistakes, don't interrupt them."